Okay, let's talk about before you shoot. You've gone through all this amazing content by this super fun girl, and now you're getting ready to do everything. Part of it is getting you ready, and we cover that in another module, but let's talk about getting them ready. This is really simple. Scheduling. You always want to make sure that you schedule the date and the time. And sometimes things get lost in translation. And I am super old school, so I still like to call people and pick up the phone. And especially if you're dealing with older people, that's what they expect. That's what my mom would want. And if I had the nerve to send her an email or text message to confirm something or do something, she would be fine. But she thinks it's proper manners and to give someone the courtesy to call them. So I would call them. And I'm always in the car, so I literally will get the numbers before I leave the house or get them out of my computer, so I'm not like rustling through my phone in the car. If they're not in my phone, I save them in my phone, and I actually put a calendar reminder in my calendar to remind me to call them the day before, because I'll forget. So as soon as you schedule it with them, you're going to put a reminder in your calendar the day that you're going to work with them or talk to them or meet them, and then put a reminder the day before so you don't forget to call them. Because you might set your calendar invite up super fast and forget to remind you a day before or remind you 4 hours before, and then it pops up 15 minutes before and you're like, oh, it starts in 15 minutes. Really? So just make it a note to put it in your calendar when you book it and when you're scheduled to talk to them or meet with them, and then 24 hours beforehand. And if it falls on a weekend and they work weekends or whatever it is, just work around it the best you can. And you want to make sure that you've confirmed the location. It's always easy to get things confused, and you want to meet at my house or you want to meet at your house? Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, we can do that. Did we say my house or did we say your house? So just confirm. Save you the hassle. It's also a good idea to set expectations. This is just in life, period. I mean, if you don't communicate and you don't set the proper expectations, then everybody's disappointed, and it totally could be unavoided. No, that's not right. It could totally be avoided. Is that the same thing? Anyway, so tell them what to expect. If you want to, you can give them the questions ahead of time. If there's certain questions in particular that you want to know about, because maybe it's just something that will help you fill in a gap or understand something that you've never understood, that's fine. But you do want to at least give them the chance to see those questions beforehand. You also need to allow them to have a right of refusal. If they don't want to do it, kind of shouldn't force them to do it. If it's something that is just that major and they blatantly say, I don't want to do this, then you got to pick your battles. I don't know what it is or how important it is, and if there's another way to get to that conversation. This is not meant to be an interrogation. This is not meant to be, I was adopted. And when I found my birth mother, I had no expectations. I wasn't finding her because I felt like there was some hole in my heart or there was something missing from my life. I actually found her because my doctor said, your mom gave you up when she was 15. So it would be good to know, as a woman, were there any history of breast cancer, any history of ovarian cancer, like things that as women, we need to check our lady parts earlier if there's a history in our family. That is the only reason I went to find her. There was nothing else. So I didn't have the expectation that my life was going to be fulfilled and I was going to have this amazing relationship. And my mom, I think, actually feared that I was going to like her more than I liked my mom. My mom, who raised me since I was 6 weeks old. And that was the furthest thing from my mind. But had I gone into it with the expectation that this woman is going to be this amazing thing that's going to solve all these, answer all these questions and solve all these problems that I didn't know how to solve, I would have been super disappointed. So set the expectation early of what you hope to get out of it. And really, if it's about you, that's fine. But a lot of times this is something that makes people feel a certain way, and it makes them feel loved, and it makes them feel important, and it's important to them, how it makes them feel. You can also give them the option to come up with their own questions. You can do this as a last resort, because almost everyone that I've talked to and that I've met, not one single person thought that they had an interesting life, thought that they had a story worth telling, thought that there was anything that they wanted to reminisce about. It's like if I give you a sheet of paper and I tell you to tell me about yourself. Most of us will sit there for quite a while just staring at the paper. Like, I don't know. What about myself? I like chocolate. I like kittens and puppy dogs. It's not who you are. We can't just on the surface just open up and be like, I always wanted to do this, and I always thought I was born to change the world, and I thought I was going to heal people, but that's not what happens. That's not how it comes out. So if you want to give people the option to come up with their own questions, they can, but most of the time they won't, and it's too overwhelming. And if it starts to go down the path and they're like, and they're starting to break out in hives, and it's just let it flow and let it be what it is. But don't make them come up with something if they're really stuck. Nobody thinks that they have an interesting life. We've talked to people that have survived the Holocaust, and it was awful and tragic and a part of history. But it's not something that they're like, oh, I can tell that story. There's so many. We all have a story, and we all have something that we can teach someone else, and we all can lend inspiration, and we can all just motivate people to get through something or to be a better person. But most of us don't think that if someone asks us that. Just, it is what it is. Okay, day before the shoot. And when I say shoot, I'm not saying loaded weapon shoot. I'm saying you're going to videotape and film someone or interview someone and ask them questions. Day before, confirm date, time, location. Give them your cell phone number. Get their cell phone number. If they're not going to be driving themselves, find out who's going to be driving them. Try to connect with them if you can. If not, find out their cell phone number. Make sure they have the address. You also want to make sure that you tell them what to wear. I have a cheat sheet that you can email them if you want to. For men, it's pretty simple. Solid color, button-down shirt if they have it. If not, they can have a sweater, but no turtlenecks, because the mic will be up here and it'll be like move around in their shirt, and your sound will be all jacked up. So they can wear a sweater, but nothing high on the neck. You can work with scarves. My mom, before she got real sick, they put a trach right here. So instead of her having oxygen that would just be tubes around her nose, they put one here to try and get her flow to her lungs better. So she was really conscious about that. I mean, we bought jewelry to kind of cover it up, so the jewelry would like be up here, which is right where it sits, kind of in this divot right here. So the jewelry would like cover it up, and she would get scarves, and she would just be really conscious about it. So don't strip someone of their dignity if they need something to hide something and they don't want to be seen. If they need that, work around it. If it's a scarf, clip the mic on the end of the scarf. If it's just work with it, but make sure that if they can have a solid color, they have a solid color. If it can be free around their neck, then make it free around their neck. If they have a jacket or something like that on, you can clip the mic to their jackets. You can do many, many different things. But you want to make sure that they have a solid color, no busy patterns. They can if they have nothing else. You don't want them naked, but the less busy the pattern, the less distracting it is to take the eye away from, like, is that a palm tree on his left shoulder? You're just looking at things, and we don't pay attention and we don't listen. And so if you want to send the cheat sheet before, you can. Men, the button-down shirts, solid colors. Women, solid colors. Nothing super fancy. They can put on as much foundation as they want to. Don't go crazy with the eye makeup. And don't experiment. If you want to make a day out of it, we've had some people that have like taken their loved one to go get their hair done and go get their makeup done, and it's like a day. They make it like an outing and a special day, and they make it this fun experience. It's like going to Glamour Shots, except you don't get a picture like this with the cowboy hat tilted and the bedazzled jet. Is that bedazzled? Like the rhinestone vest. I think they still look like that today. And I think Glamour Shots is still in business. And make it fun. You might be stressed, but you don't need to let them know you're stressed, because you don't need to stress them out. This is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something they remember. It's supposed to be something they tell other friends about and say it was an amazing special day. And then when they see it, they're going to be like, wow, I am pretty awesome. Right? So I think that's it. Before the shoot, all the things you need to do, and you'll be ready.